Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Tracy with Slingshot Health Coaching. I'm coming to you today to quickly answer some of the questions that have been coming in regarding the upcoming group that's getting set to launch in just about, what are we at, like maybe a week and a half, which is super exciting. So yes, I have a list here and I'm going to quickly go through them for you because if one mom had this question, chances are pretty great that you have the same question. First and foremost, I want to address privacy. I'm well aware that struggles with mental health very unfairly have a stigma attached to it, and it's really quite tragic. This is, I believe, part of why it goes undiagnosed and untreated, because we feel shame when our brain doesn't show up the way that we want it to. And of course, our personality is a direct reflection of the functionality of our brain, right? Because the brain is the organ that channels the mind, and the mind is the personality. So if the material brain is underperforming, overperforming, you're going to see symptoms that show up in behavior. And that is really this kind of catch-22 tragedy where somebody really wants to show up a different way, but they really can't manifest the behavior on a consistent basis that they really would prefer to show up with. So privacy, I realize, is of the utmost importance, and it's something I take very, very seriously. Something that is really important for everybody to understand and appreciate about this program: this is an educational program. The first 45 minutes of each session is exclusively teaching. I'll be teaching into very specific topics that are critically important to look at and consider when somebody has a brain that's in trouble. And the remaining 45 minutes are Q&A, but specifically to the teaching. We are going to reserve specific questions regarding your child who is struggling for one-on-one sessions that can be purchased separately at a reduced rate. I have reduced that rate to make those opportunities available to you. But specific questions related to a specific child and their unique struggles and challenges, we're going to keep that out of the group content for those privacy reasons. You certainly can ask me generic questions or general questions that pertain to the content, but nothing very specific that would put your child's privacy at risk. So hopefully that addresses the confidentiality piece. Everybody who's showing up is showing up to learn. They're not necessarily in a horrific mental illness kind of story, or perhaps they actually are. It's really coming together to recognize not just the country, but the world is in a state of chaos, because we don't know what we don't know as far as what makes a brain healthy, what are the aspects of our daily life that will give us the brain function that we desire. That's really the impetus of the group. So the second question, somebody had asked, are you going to be talking about different types of mental illnesses? Well, I'm going to be primarily focusing on anxiety and depression because they are the most common. But here's the thing: anybody who's showing up with any type of mental illness challenge, they have a brain that is inflamed. So everything you're going to learn is going to be applicable to OCD, attention deficit, behavior outbursts, excessive sleepiness, brain fog, things like that. All of this information is going to be relevant to whatever the struggle is, because the goal in the education is to train you up to go back into your homes, to implement the changes, to bring down inflammation in the brain and in the body. So we won't be necessarily diving into anything outside the anxiety, depression at length, but know that everything that's taught inside this group is going to be helpful in getting that brain and body in a better state of health. Somebody else asked if there's separate groups for adults and teens, and that was a great question. Yes, this is just a beta group. I decided to start with supporting moms who are trying to support their child. Your child wants you. They don't really want me. They want you. So I come alongside mothers who are exhausted, weary, confused, and I give her not only the emotional support to do this hard thing, but I empower her and equip her with all of this training that really, you're not going to find this in a pediatrician's office for the most part, unless, of course, you're pursuing functional resolution. But if you're in a conventional pediatrician's office, you're not going to hear the things that you're going to hear inside this group. So that's what makes this super unique and super powerful. These are strategies and solutions you can implement as soon as the call is over. You can take it right back into your home and say, okay, let's take a look at the way we're living and let's talk about ways we can improve our sleep. That's what we talked about today. Or we talked about specific things in the diet that should not be or should be there, and you can start to make changes there. We're going to talk about EMF exposure and how that gets in the way of good brain function. There's loads of topics that we're going to be touching on. But to answer that particular question, yes, there will be 2 separate groups, but for now, this is an educational opportunity to come alongside moms who were trying to support their child who was struggling with a mental health challenge. And at a later date, based off the beta information we get from this group, I will also be building an adult group. I'm also going to be building a 3rd group called Upstream for young women, either engaged, soon to be married, planning to get pregnant, newly pregnant, all of the ways we can go upstream and avoid the problems that arise when we don't understand the way the body works and the needs of the body, so that systems run well, and we actually get to avoid all of these downstream effects of living in ways that are incongruent with what the body is expecting from us. And then somebody asked if I'm going to have multiple groups. That depends on the amount of people who sign up. For now, we're going to start with the Wednesday morning. If I have enough interest, I did say on the website, on the landing page there, that I would open up a Wednesday evening cohort, but it depends on registration count. So those are pretty much the primary questions that came up. And so now I just want to quickly move on to objections. The privacy, again, was a theme. And so hopefully I've addressed that so you understand. Showing up with just your name and last initial. You certainly have the opportunity to turn off your Zoom camera if that's something that would make you feel more comfortable and able to learn. That's totally available to you. You don't have to engage in the Q&A. You can just be an observer and listen. But this really is an opportunity for you to see you're not alone, that there are other people in the exact same boat. And if we can get everybody rowing in the same direction, we can really make a really big impact. Cost is always something that pops up too. I can't impress upon you enough that this is the culmination of 20 years of being in the mental health space, where I have exhaustively searched, not only through reading and following experts on podcasts and online, but of course being in formal training and in college and beyond. This is really a distillation of all of that education and life experience that is being delivered to you in a very concise and actionable way. The cost is something like you really have to ask yourself, what is this information worth to me? If I were to be able to, within 12 weeks, begin to implement profound changes in my home that will absolutely turn my child from a track of maybe lifelong suffering and put them on a track of lifelong health. I mean, really, I'm just not quite sure about a price tag on that. And this won't ever be offered at a beta pricing again. This is my first and only time. So the pricing is such a phenomenal opportunity for you guys to get this at a reduced cost in exchange for feedback. Hopefully that addresses that for you as well. The value is really unquantifiable. If I could go back in time and have instantaneously this type of information downloaded into my family story back when my kids were very young, there was probably quite a bit that I could have avoided. And frankly, if I had it when I was a kid, if I had parents who kind of plugged into this and made some major changes in the home, I would have been spared a lot of suffering. I mean, I'm 52, and it's probably the last 5 years or so that I feel like I feel pretty good. So I could have been spared decades of struggling myself. And as far as the time commitment, that's the last objection I'm going to address. You will get recordings of the teaching only, not of the question and answer section, because of those privacy issues that I really do take very seriously. So you will have access to the recordings of the teaching throughout the duration of the program. They do expire when the program ends, but you have 12 weeks to, at your convenience and leisure, watch over and over again, take notes, and come up with a customized approach for yourself. So I hope that that's helpful. I know this video is a little bit on the longer side, but I really wanted to get to those questions and objections, and hope that this inspires you to go ahead and register. The link to do so is in the comments below. You guys all know slingshothc.com/registration is the registration page. And we've got about a week or so until the opportunity to join the group is over. So I really hope that you prayerfully consider this amazing opportunity to change the story that's going on in your home, and most especially in the life of your struggling child. I'm sending you all my love.